If you look at what's gone on in Portland, those are anarchists, and we've taken a very tough stand. If we didn't take a stand in Portland, we've arrested many of these leaders. If we didn't take that stand, right now you would have a problem like, they were going to lose Portland.
They're not arresting people, they're kidnapping people. There's a total difference. Um, they haven't been given their Miranda rights or anything, so what they're doing is illegal. And you would have lost Portland. Like what? Where would have Portland gone? Portland would have still been there. So there is no need for uh federal agents to kidnap people. But the way like Fox News and stuff, the way they talk about the protests and graffiti and stuff that's going on, they make it seem like the protesters are like bloodthirsty criminals looking to lay siege to everybody's property.
President Trump defending his decision to deploy federal officers to Portland. Mayor Ted Wheeler is demanding they leave the city. Now, House Democrats are calling for an investigation into reports of agents unlawfully arresting protesters. Let's bring in Mark Morgan, Acting Commissioner of Customs and Border Protection. Thanks for being here.
You bet.
Let me play this soundbite from Mayor Ted Wheeler about federal troops in his city.
We have dozens, if not hundreds, of federal troops descending upon our city. And what they're doing is they are sharply escalating the situation. Their presence here is actually leading to more violence and more vandalism. And it's not helping the situation at all. They're not wanted here. We haven't asked them here. In fact, we want them to leave.
Commissioner, your response to that?
It's just ridiculous, Brett. It's really just it's actually a stupid statement that's not based in reality or fact. Look, the reality here is this violence began in his city well before we deployed additional resources there. And these individuals we're talking about are not protesters, but they're criminals. Every night, they're willfully coordinating, organizing, and planning to intentionally attack and destroy federal property and harm federal agents and officers. Those are.
Well, did you like they're organizing, they're terrorist sleeper cells organizing to overthrow America. It's just okay, just remove these racist statues and, let's start dealing with the systematic problem of police violence, which is it's kind of funny how this happens. People protest police violence and systemic racism, and the system returns with ever-increasing amounts of violence.
Are criminals. That's who we're talking about. That's why we're there. And, Brett, we're not going anywhere.
The federal authorities are on the ground. They include Border Patrol agents. Is that right?
That's correct. We actually have what's called BORTAC, our special trained agents. We're the largest law enforcement organization in the United States, and the individuals that we're sending up there are specially trained for specific situations just like this.
Well, to that point.
Wait, they're trained to battle people that are vandalizing federal monuments? What a oddly specific task force.
The New York Times has this report in which it says the tactical agents deployed by Homeland Security include officials from a group known as BORTAC, the Border Patrol's equivalent to a SWAT team, highly trained group that normally is tasked with investigating drug smuggling organizations as opposed to protesters in cities. They're saying that they don't have the proper training to deal with the situation at hand.
Wow, this makes no sense. They're sending SWAT teams for that fight against drug smuggling and stuff to deal with protesters. This is the system we live in. It is a system where if you protest injustice, you're met with violent agents from wherever, because the government's going to just, send some group from whatever part of the government to attack you. And it doesn't have to be uh, police. It's going to be some kind of uh, government agent. It
It's just false. It's kind of ironic. So they're saying they're highly trained, but then they're not trained. So these individuals, as well as from our Office of Field Operation, our special response team, they are specifically trained in this. We have over 300 ports of entry, a lot of those land ports of entry, which we have individuals who come to that in large groups and protest on a regular basis. So not are they trained, but they're highly experienced in exactly these types of situations, Brett.
How do you get the emotion down? How do you take it down a notch with the people that you have on the ground? The Portland mayor is saying that you're inciting it. Obviously, the president and the federal government believes that you have to be there because the violence is getting out of control.
An easy way to quell what's going on is to start listening to the people and what they're asking for, because this is why this is happening. People being ignored by the system. This is the same type of thing that happened during the Obama administration, when you had the Occupy movement all over the nation and the world as well. The government used force to try to break up and quell the protest that was going on. They were protesting, income inequality, systematic racism, police brutality, and various other grievances. And the government just threw cops and stuff at them. You had the anti-pipeline protest, where people were protesting the building of a pipeline on through Native American land, and what you had was extreme violence on the part of the system, where militarized police attacked people with water cannons, dogs, and various other forms of weaponry.
But the president is right, and that's actually, we actually have a statutory responsibility. The Federal Protective Service has a statutory responsibility to protect federal buildings. And they also have the statutory authority to do that. That's why we're there. And again, I'll restate, the violence started well before we...
Wow. What about... These people care more about protecting property than they do about, the grievances of these people, which is cops are killing people, and cops are killing unarmed, innocent people, and they want that to end. So instead of listening to legitimate grievances, these people are just going to mobilize a military force in order to silence people who just want to live peacefully. They care more about buildings being vandalized or spray painted or whatever, and not the fact that their system is killing people, because that's the way the system is set up. This is the response that we will always get from the type of system that we live in.
Put additional resources there. But we actually had credible information that the federal buildings were going to be attacked. That's what led us to putting more resources there. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. I mean, just the past couple of days, we've had both police stations and federal buildings boarded up with commercial-grade fireworks launched in these buildings to set them on fire with people inside. So to answer your question, what we need local leaders to stop saying ridiculous, irresponsible things, reach out to these protesters, and get the police to work with us to go out and stop and arrest these criminals. That's what needs to be done. But they refuse to do it.
I wonder if there's actually people inside the building. I highly doubt it.
Commissioner, this is a time where we're focusing on this violence in cities. But what is happening on the border for people who want to know what's going on there?
So right now, Brett, I'm glad you asked that. Right now, what our main focus is, look, every single day we continue to stop criminals and apprehend criminals and drugs that are pouring in, killing citizens in this country. But right now, obviously, COVID-19 is absolutely a focus for us. And because under the CDC order, what we refer to as Title 42, this is not a border enforcement issue. This is a public health issue, and it's a public health order that came from CDC. And what that does is that gives the CBP the authority to, when we encounter someone, to immediately return them back to Mexico. About 86% of those we apprehend, we return back to Mexico in about under 2 hours.
Wait, I don't understand how this has to do anything with what the Border Patrol SWAT team is doing. But I guess he's trying to somehow justify the federal agents being in Portland.
And that prevents us from introducing those into our system and really furthering the spread of COVID. It's actually been a game changer, and I believe it saves countless lives in this country.